the anterior view of the skull, the frontal bone, the glabella, the supraorbital notch or this is the superciliary arch or something. Yeah, superciliary arch. This is a supraorbital notch or foramen. The nasal bone. The temporal bone, the parietal bone, the greater wing of the sphenoid. This is also the greater the greater wing of the sphenoid, the zygomatic process, the frontal process of zygomatic bone, zygomatic process of the frontal process of the zygomatic bone, the zygomatic process of the frontal bone, and this is the zygomatic. This is the temporal process of zygomatic bone, and the zygomatic process of the temporal bone, which form the zygomatic arch. The zygomaticofacial foramen. The zygomaticofacial foramen, the infraorbital foramen, the zygomatic process of the maxilla, These are the alveolar processes, the anterior nasal spine, this is the suture. Okay. The other processes: nasal bone, the frontal process of the maxilla, the frontal process of the maxilla, the anterior nasal aperture, having this one over here. This is the perpendicular plate of the sphenoid bone, which is continuous with the vomer. These are the middle nasal conchae, and upward we've got the superior nasal conchae. This red color superior nasal conchae, and this is the middle nasal conchae. The bluish are the middle nasal conchae. This small region represents the nasion. And now we'll go inside the orbital cavity. Inside the orbital cavity, we've got the orbital process of the frontal bone, the superior orbital fissure, the inferior orbital fissure, and the optic canal. There it is, the optic canal. Not seen. This is clear over here, the optic canal or the optic nerve. Orbital surface of the frontal bone, the orbital surface of the lesser wing of the sphenoid. This is the These, yeah, inside we've got this bluish orbital surface of the lesser wing of the sphenoid, and this is the orbital surface of the greater wing of the sphenoid. The orbital surface of the greater wing of the sphenoid, the orbital surface of the lesser wing of the sphenoid. Inferior to the supraorbital fissure, we've got the infraorbital groove. The infraorbital groove. The yeah, focusing. There is some problem with the focusing. Okay. Yeah. This is the nasal bone. Sorry, this is the lacrimal bone, having anterior lacrimal crest and posterior lacrimal crest. And this between the lacrimal bone, we've got the lacrimal sulcus. The lacrimal sulcus for the lacrimal sac, and this is where you will find the lacrimal gland. The lacrimal gland. The orbital surface of the zygomatic bone, orbital surface of the maxillary bone, orbital surface of the maxillary bone, the posterior ethmoidal foramen, and the anterior ethmoidal foramen. Posterior ethmoidal foramen. Yeah, they're not visible here, but the possible location of the posterior ethmoidal foramen is over here. Posterior ethmoidal foramen you will find over here, and the anterior. Yeah, this is the anterior ethmoidal foramen. Anterior ethmoidal foramen. The posterior ethmoidal foramen. Anterior ethmoidal foramen. Fossa for the lacrimal sac. I told you before, fossa for the lacrimal sac is over here. And at the junction of the orbital surface of the lesser wing of the sphenoid and the orbital surface of the frontal bone and the orbital surface of the maxillar bone, we have got a small process which is not visible, but it is present over here in this region. This is the orbital surface of the palatine bone. A very small process. The orbital surface of the palatine bone is at the junction of the orbital surface of the maxilla, the frontal, and the lesser wing of the sphenoid, or the greater wing of the sphenoid. So